And we're going to backtrack just a teeny bit so we don't start in the middle. We are going to start above the wide lines. Yeah, we were. We're going to start with about 15 lines above that. I'll tell you exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's a little asterisk, the second word from the end of the line, Avel. Yeah. Word for the line finishes Avel Kol. Okay? Avel. A mourner. Kol's Machemesa Muto in front of, as long as the dead body is in front of him. Ochel Chaveri must eat by his friend's house. Ein lo Chaveri doesn't have a friend. Ochel Ba'Yisachar eats another house. Ein lo Ba'Yisachar doesn't have another house. Also Mechitza makes a barrier between himself and the dead body. V'ochel, then he eats. He cannot make a barrier. He turns his face towards the wall for ochel and eats that way. He does not recline and eat. Knows he eats his fill. Nor drink his fill. Nor eat meat nor drink wine. He does not participate in a zimun, right? In benching in a group of 3. If he makes a bracha, one does not respond to amen to him. If other people make a bracha, doesn't respond to them amen because he's exempt from all mitzvahs. When it's true on a weekday. Shabbos, when on Shabbos, he reclines and eats as much as he wants. The shows the circle and he drinks as much as he wants. He eats meat, drinks wine. He participates in a zimun. He makes a bracha. People respond to amen. Other people who made a bracha, he responds to them amen. Said, if you bring all this for him on Shabbos, requiring to fulfill all the other mitzvahs of the Torah. Why? If you permitted for him temporal life, meaning to eat and drink, so you should permit for him the eternal life, all the mitzvahs. And this Avel, who's an Onain, who has not yet buried his dead relative, may participate in all mitzvahs on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said that on Shabbos he might participate in all mitzvahs. Now, even if the dead body is not actually buried yet, Nimsal Rabim, once the body, the corpse has been given over to the masses for burial, Ochabasa, the person who is an Avelus, can eat meat, and drink wine. Why? Because his role's already been ended. Right? He's no longer an owner. Once his role has been ended, even if the actual burial has not yet taken place.
But an Avel can't drink wine.
Oh, sure he can. So, on the contrary. And the Avel is encouraged to drown his sorrows. Okay? Only an Onain may not drink wine. Onain, person before the burial. That's different. No, because in the Sach and the base of Mikdash you no longer have. That's a specific aspect of the Avelus of the Churban to mourn the lack of carbonates of meat and the lack of libations of wine. But it's not directly related to this classic Avelus. No? Okay? Nimsal Kotafim, once the mace is given over to pallbearers, Kamosh Nimsal Rabim, it's as if it's given over to the masses, meaning it's already out of your hands. Not our pallbearers, but the pallbearers in the old days. Avel, B'Shabbos Yishon, Avel, the first week of his Avelus, the first Shabbos of his Avelus, so you say, Eino Hilch Beis HaKnesses does not go to shul. We don't pass in this way, but and so they did not go to shul. B'Shniya, the second week, Hilch Beis HaKnesses, he can go to shul, V'Eino Yoshim M'Komo, he may not sit in his place. B'Shlish is the third week, Yoshim M'Komo may sit in his place, V'Eino Medaber, but he may not speak. Revi'ah Shavachom, on the fourth week, he returns to the status of any person. Rabbi Namer, Efshel Lamar B'Shabbos Rishona, do you have to say in the first week, it's supposed to say the first week, that he would, there's even a thought he would go to shul, so obviously he wouldn't go to shul. Sharav Niskah Misas Kimom, meant the people come to visit him. Ella, rather, Ashniya Rishona. The first week, which is the week he may not go to shul, is really the second week, in other words, the first week after Shiva. Ashlish is the Ashniya, the third week is the second. Harvius Ashlishis, and the fourth week is like the third, meaning he moves everything up a Shabbos. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Ovel b'Shal Shabbos Yishayna Yoyed Holich Beis HaKnesses. This is more in line with what we do. Rabbi Shimon says, Ovel, even on the first Shabbos, may go to shul during Shiva. V'eni Yesh Mikomo, he may not sit in the seat. B'Shni, on the second Shabbos, Yesh Mikomo may sit in the seat. V'eni B'davar, not speak. B'Shlish Shavuot Chol Adam, on the third week, he's equivalent to everybody. Rabbi Shimon Levi Omer, Alocha Kediver Mishoy Omer, the Alocha is like he who says Shemosif Yomim, like he who adds days. Meaning that he adds days in which the oval he adds days in which the oval is equivalent to everybody. Actually, I didn't notice it between Moshe and you may have a little bit of an argument here, but it seems like we possibly between Moshe that he's allowed to go to shul even earlier, meaning from the first Shabbos, not from later on. If now let's say the person went, an individual went, came, I should say. A person heard that his relative died and he was not in the vicinity, and then he came and found that the people already sending shiva. So Yerushalmi comes on the second or third day of Avelis Mashlim morning, he can count the 7 days with the people already sitting there and get up with them. Urvivi comes on the fourth day, Mona Latzmo, he counts on his own. In other words, he has to count his own meter of 7 days, since most of Avelis is already passed already. Rabbi Shomer, Afilu Birvi, Mashlim morning, even if he comes on the fourth day, he completes it with them. The Shai Torah Eretz Yisrael changes that, and he changes it to Afilu B'Shvi. Even if he comes on the seventh day, he completes what the people are sitting there, because he takes on the shiva of the majority of people who are already there sitting shiva. Okay? So, therefore, if a mourner comes in the middle of shiva and joins the people sitting shiva, he takes on their status. Okay? It says more further. Rabbi Shimon Levi Omer, Rabbi Shimon Levi says, how long Rabbi Shimon she'eno gora mishpach, that's true. If it's not the head of the family, but if it's head of the family, he's not subordinate to them. On the contrary, they should be subordinate to him. It's just that there is no such thing more than 7 days of Avelus. So therefore, he has to count his own 7 days. Mona la'atzmo. Ki'adol, the following case. So Mona hore l'Rabbi Armania. Right? Mona paskin for Rabbi Armania became Shakol Mishol because you're the leader of the family, the great man of the family. Menei la'atzlo, count for yourself. Now, that's only Bishlohu lo Ropanim. It's an interesting parameter here the Yerushalmi gives, which I don't recall from the Bavli at all. That's only if most of the people in the city do not manage to get there in 1 day. Most of the people in the city managed to get there that 1 day. When he got there, the Gadol HaMishpacha, the leader of the family, so he already was Yotze. He doesn't have to count another 6 days. Why is that? Because the purpose of 7 days is to get in comforters, consolers. And if they all came on that 1 day, that suffices. It's a very big chiddush. It means that Avelus is not just on account of the mourner, but account of the consolers. And therefore the majority of consolers get in 1 day, that suffices. Right? It's a very big chiddush, right? Right?
Sure.
Okay.
Can't you always say that there'll be more mourners,
more
consolers coming? Can't you say there's always going to be another consoler?
No, it goes by the city, because people would not come from other cities, usually speaking. It's not like today people would fly in. Even today, I think most of your consolers come from the same city, it's just that we have much larger population.
What's the Bavli?
I don't think the Bavli. I think the Bavli says you just count by yourself, no matter what. It doesn't give that parameter.
Even if you've exhausted all the...
Yeah, even if you exhausted all the mourners, you still got to sit. It's not a din in the consolers. It's a din in the. How do you measure the
number of consolers?
I assume by the townspeople.
So, but is it really treating townspeople as the equivalent of consolers?
Yeah, because those are the population. In Chicago, the number is about 250,000. Well, that's why you have 7 days. Okay? Says no further. So if the majority of people of the population can come in 1 day, the 1 day this Gadol HaMishpacha is sitting there, the leader of the family, no l'merchatz, he can take it with him to the bathhouse, meaning he can end with the rest of the people. Ke'adah, like the case of Rav Huna Horei la'achiv Rabbi Yehuda bar Zabdi, like the Rav Huna paskin for the brothers of Rabbi Yehuda bar Zabdi, became a shiur lo ropanim. Once most of the people have shown their faces, in other words, came to console. No l'merchatz, he can go to the bathhouse together with everybody else, even though he is Rabbi Yehuda bar Zabdi, is Gadol Mishpacha. Hareish malichin also imakom imakom. What about the case where they take the dead body from place to place? In other words, they don't have a cemetery nearby, or they take them to a more distant cemetery. Like those who bury in Beis Shari, even though they don't live there. Those who say the people who remain in the city from whence the corpse came, they count once they start to have velus. And I need to start that velus once the mace leaves the city. Velus shasham, and those who are there and who accompany the body, they go by the time when the grave is sealed. He's tiny. Those who said that Elu, both the people who remain behind, the people who are in the city where the burial is taking place, they go after when the grave is sealed. Rabbi Shimon Levi said, everything goes after where the leader of the family is present. Rabbi Yad said l'chumrin, it's l'chumra. Ma'u chumrin, what's the chumra? What's the stringency? If the Gadol Mishpacha remained in the city where the death occurred, those remain here, count once the mace leaves the city. Those who are in the city where the burial is taking place, they count from when the grave is sealed. If the Gadol Mishpacha went with the body, then everything starts going from when the grave is sealed. However, it's not, well, let's see the case. Like this says, Gamliel the barber, his sister died. So Hillel, the brother, who was not the Gadol Mishpacha, the leader of the family is Gamliel. But Hillel went, Imad should be, together with the corpse. So Ramana said to Hillel, Mikevon, it's a sha'at, but should really be sha'is. Mikevon sha'is Gadol Mishpacha. Even though you came and were obviously stuck around here, so your shiva should start later. But since there's a Gadol Mishpacha, since your brother remained behind, and he's a Gadol Mishpacha, when you get to your brother, which could be at the end of Shiva, just take off your sandal for momentarily, and that'll complete the Shiva. In other words, you go after the Gadol Mishpacha, even if it's a kula for the person who went on to the gravesite, that he goes back. When he goes back, he can go by the people who remained behind, as long as the Gadol Mishpacha was with them. Okay? Says that's in fact what he paskin. Now, Rishon finds some mikever l'kever. What if they're taking the mace from grave to grave? Now, this means that they're transporting him shortly after death. They buried him in a temporary grave, and then they're transporting him shortly thereafter. So when does Avelu start? East Tani, those who say Mishri Sasim Rishon once the first grave is sealed. East Tani, those who say Mishri Sasim Shem once the second grave is sealed. Gola means the sealing stone which is rolled in front of the grave. Rabbi Yonah had such a case. Rabbi Zira, he asked Rabbi Zira, and I guess Rabbi Zira asked Rabami, Rabbi Zira L'Rabami, or Malain, he said Mishri Sasim Sheni once the second tombstone is sealed. Asagabe. So Rabbi Zira came to Rabbi Yirmiyah and said, "L'chumra harilachi, possibly l'chumra that it starts in the second sealing." Rabbi Yonah, Rabbi Yossi, Tarbai, and Omri, they both said, "Hadat Torah till Shiva." It's only if they're going to move the corpse during the first 7 days after it dies. Avlach or Shiva, but they're going to move the corpse after 7 days have elapsed since its death. Where Avar Abel that sit Avelus is the first 7 days and already has passed. B'shanasan daitel fanoso, and there's also only if you had in mind to move him during the 7 days. Avim Lona son died fanoso, you didn't even mind to move during the 7 days. Mishi is saw safe. Chagol Rishon go after the sealing of the first grave. Kadol, like this case, Gamliel di Kunose, Gamliel from the city of Kunse, Kvar Nui Kursoi Gabun. the people of Kursa, which was another city, buried him by then because that's where he died. Besat Lo Sayomin, 3 days later, Im Luchun, they changed their mind, and Mechazer Yosei, they wanted to put him back in his own city to lie there in a grave. Asim Shalom Rabbi Simon, so he came as Rabbi Simon to us, the Avelos continue now and actually begin from the second burial, not from the first one. Amar Allah and Rabbi Simon, Shem Rabbi Shimon Levi. So Rabbi Simon said in the name of Shimon Levi, no. Became Shon Asata died Chilfanosis. It's originally he didn't have a mind to move him. Mishi Sasim Gorishon. Then the Shiva clock starts ticking once the first grave was sealed, despite the fact that within Shiva he decided to move him. Yeshua Achita Duroy. Yeshua the brother of Duroy. How do they had such a case? Armalei Rabbi Azar Shrayevo. So what they have Shrayevo? Armalei Mishi Sasim Gorishon. What's the second gravestone is sealed? Armalei Rabbi Yaakov Barach. Rabbi Yaakov Barach said to Rabbi Yavo, hey! Imchoisi, I was with you. Shiltene min Rabbi Abdullah the min Haifa. He asked Rabbi Abdullah from Haifa. Arma, he said, Mishisasim Agar Rishon goes after the first sealing of the gravestone, not the second one. Armalei, so Rabbi Yavo said, Ana lo Shabbos. I don't remember hearing it. In Shabbos, if you heard a puka race, so you got a paskin instead of me, because you can pass on the kula even though I can't, and that's the way it stands, I guess. So we pass on the kula.
So it's as if they plan to rebury, it's like the first burial is on a tonight.
Right, and it doesn't count for Shiva if it's being done during Shiva, right?
So this is on a tonight.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's not a burial.
Right. It's conditional. It's the same thing as say it's not burial. It's array semantics. You're right. You're both right. Okay? Says Gemara, Minay Avo Minat what? Why it's not cooling off?
It reminds me like when they reburied Herzl.
It's not on air conditioning.
Oh.
It's on a high fan.
Yes. Oh, there we go.
They reburied Jabotinsky and Herzl.
I was just reading in Hamodia, the Aguda newspaper, that they wanted to rebury Montefiore. Montefiore in Israel, and
Is he in the
no, they wanted to rebury him. He has a mausoleum in Ramsgate. They wanted to, which was his estate. They wanted to rebury him, but the rabbinate did not permit it because he never expressed such a intent.
Didn't they have a problem getting an agreement with the father?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Like a decade?
Where was he buried originally? New York?
Buried in New York or someplace like that in like 1939?
It was politics. Been very little
Okay.
And where to go? But would you call that a conditional burial?
Generally speaking, you're allowed to move somebody to Israel unless you expressed explicitly otherwise.
Oh, really?
It's considered to be an advantage to be moved to Israel.
Does that make the original burial?
No. No. Because it's not conditional.
Right.
But generally you're allowed to move to Israel, even later on. Well, we don't usually do it because, we're not 100% positive, and why go through the border, but it is, I think, if I recall correctly, it is technically permissible. If I recall correctly again. Okay, says the word. Minay lo avo min Torah shiva. I know that Avelos the Torah from the Torah is 7 days, because it says Vayas lo aviv Avel shivas yomim. Yosef made for his father Avelos for 7 days. Well, the made it over Kolim Mount Torah. How can we learn from before Mount Torah? That was before Torah was given. Maybe their practices were different. So it's an interesting question Chasim Sofer asks here on the bottom. He says, we learned earlier in the Masechta, I think it was earlier in the Masechta, we learned that Sheva Brachas is 7 days from Yaakov. Yaakov made 7 days of Sheva Brachas for Leah. So how come there we didn't protest? That was before Mount Torah. Right? It's a good question, right? So Chasim Sofer gives a little bit of a long answer, but the gist of it is interesting. He says that, how do we know that Avelos does not stop by Shabbos? That's what we're looking for. In other words, we know that Shabbos is included in Shiva. It doesn't break Shiva, right? That's what we're looking for. How do we know that? And you can't be approved from before Mount Torah because before Mount Torah, Shabbos had a different character. Right, so it could be that Shabbos after Mantor might well break Avelus just like Yom Tov does. And that's what we're looking for proof for, that even after the Torah was given, Shabbos does not break Avelus. So yes, there was a concept of Avelus before Mount Torah, but we want to know something where incorporate Shabbos even after the Torah was given. So it says, Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Shem, Rabbi Zira, Shoma, let me know that I learned it from here. It says by Aaron's children, after Nadav and Avihu were killed, it says about Aaron and his children. After the Avihu were killed, though at the opening of the tent of the tent of the Mishkan, you should sit for 7 days, night and day, Mishkan Hashem, and preserve the watch of the sanctuary of God. Just like Kodesh Baruch Hu watched his world for 7 days. Now, what does it mean, watch? He sat in Avelus on his day world for 7 days. As we're going to see in a minute. So too, you should sit in Avelus. It was actually a form of Avelus or Nadav Avihu that they sat 7 days on in the Mishkan and did not go home. How does it say that? Where does Kodesh Baruch Hu sat Shiva on the world? Because it says, Vayilu Shiva Yomim. It says, after the 7 days, the man Mabel Yulor, the waters will flood around the land world. It says, well, what kind of Shiva is that? Yeah, it was before the person dies. That Mabel didn't yet occur, the flood didn't yet occur. How can Hashem be Navelus? It says, well, the bus of a dog. Human being, any of them, he doesn't know what's going to be. He doesn't go to Navelus. Even if he wants to. He doesn't go to Navelus until the guy kicks the bucket. Right? Because maybe, shucks, the guy will survive, right? So he can't go to Avelus, right? However,
that would be a very conditional burial.
Right, very conditional. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem who knows it's going to be, Shimer al Olam al Tchila, he preserved this world first. In other words, he did Avelus even prior to the actual death. To those who say, and this is brought down actually in Rashi and Chumash, I believe, these 7 days are 7 days in mourning for Mesushelach, Methuselah, who finally died after all those years, those 7 days before the flood. Because the oil of anointment of God is upon you. Kishem, and this is so bad again, Aaron and his children when they were sitting and being invested with the priesthood during those 7 days. So Kishem Shnitra Vesim Hashem Ramishu, just like you were satiated with the oil of anointment called Shiva for all 7 days. Kachatem Shimra Chechem Kol Shiva, so to watch your brothers for 7 days. That's another derivation, right? Yevov B'Shem Yehoram said yet another derivation. Al-Nati Kames. The Miriam was smitten with leprosy for having spoken against Moshe. So Aaron said, let her not be like the dead. Tisoger. And then it says she was closed up. Ma Yimei Ames Shiva, just like the days of the of death of 7 days. Yimei Ezger, so to the days of closing up of a leper are 7 days. So we see that there's a linkage between 7 and 7. So it must see that days of death are 7 days, just like the closing up is 7 days. Chad Rabbi, one time B'Chacham, Amar Adad, Rabbi Yochanan, he said that which Rabbi Yochanan said, Kurei Hashem Elokish, V'Rei Hashem Elokish. Lo Kavi Lavi did not accept this format of a drasha. Amar, he said, Hacha Avad Lo Lehezker, V'Hacha Avad Lo Lehechlet. There, it's like, you're trying to draw a parallel to Hezker, to the closing up of a leper, but elsewhere we see that the parallel is drawn to the Hechlet, to the determination that the leper is definitely a Mitzorah, which is a minimum of 7 days. Dam Rabbi Yochanan b'Shem Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Yochanan said, name Rabbi Yanai, Al Nati Kamesh, she should not be like a dead person. Maya Me'ames Enum Olim, just like the days of death do not count. Oh, I forgot what that means. Vis-a-vis a Nazir. That person's a Nazir and he has to sit Shiva. So those days where he has to sit Shiva, they don't count as days of Nazirus, right? They don't count for his 30 days. So too, in other words, he has to break his Nazirus and start over again. So too, if a person becomes a Mitzorah, that breaks his Nazirus and he has to start over again. So this is really a parenthetical remark, but the parallel which is drawn between Miriam and Mace may not be the parallel which has to do with the 7 days, but may be the parallel that just like if a Nazir has a relative who dies, that breaks his Nazir, so too if a Nazir becomes a Mitzorah, gets leprosy, that too breaks his Nazirus. That might be the parallel. Okay? So, my may say to him, only if they don't count for Nazirus, it breaks his Nazirus, he has to start from scratch. So 2 days of Mitzorah, and only has to start from scratch. Right? A Nazir has to start from scratch. Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Chia, B'Shem, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Rayavon, Rabbi Yosef, B'Chanina, B'Shem, Rabbi Shimon Lakish said, V'yitamu Yimei B'Chi Evel Moshe. It says the days of the crying of the morning of Moses stopped. Yimei, the 7 is Shiva. Those are the 7 days. Bechi, Yimei Shiva, the 7 days. Bechi, the days of crying Shtein. We know the first 2 days, until the 3rd day actually, but the first 2 days after a person dies are days of crying, mourning. Generally, we don't come to comfort the Arvel until after 3 days are over. There's an opinion that the first 2 days he's not allowed to put on tefillin. We pass it's only up to the first day, but there's an opinion that the first 2 days, because those are days of sobbing, it's supposed to afterwards when there's less sobbing. Okay? So that's 7 and 2. Avel, mourning is Shloshim, is the 30 days. Pisachav, some change the order of the drasha. Yimei is 9, the first 2 days. Bechi is Shiva, the 7 days. Avel is Shloshim, the 30 days. Same idea. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chia, B'Shem, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Rabbi Yonah, Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Rabbi Nasi said, V'fachti chagechem li'avel. How do you know that Shiva is for 7 days? I will turn your yontif to Avelus. Ma'yimei achag Shiva, just like Sukkot says 7 days. Af yemei ha'avel Shiva, so 2 days of mourning are 7. Amar Rabbi Yami, Rabbi Chia Barbo, who says, let's say just like Sukkot has 8 days. Don't forget Shmini Atzeres. Yimei Avel Shmona, so too maybe Avelos are 8 days. Or Malaysia said no, Shmini Regel B'Ifnei Atzmo. There's 8 days of Yontif by itself. We're going by Yontif of Sukkot, which is 8 days, 7 days. Says, well, wait, I got a better drush for you. Well, my Atzeres Yomecha, just like Shmini Atzeres is 1 day. Avel Yomecha, maybe Avelos is also only 1 day, not 7 days, right? Who says going on the 7 days? So because maybe going the 1 day Shmini Atzeres. So Amar Leisa, he said, you know what? You're not totally incorrect. You thought you were joking. Amar Leisa, he said, Mikan l'shmur choka. In fact, from the Shmini, it says one day we learned that if somebody hears an old news, literally a distant rumor, but he heard old news, in other words, that the person who's close to him died more than 30 days before, then how many days of Avelos does he have to keep? 1 day. Okay? And even on that 1 day we say Miktas Yom Kekula, that part of it suffices. So name it. So that we learn from Shmini Atzeres. You're right. The Thai came also in the Bride. So Shmuel Krova, if you hear within 30 days of the death, you have Shloshim, and you have 7 to 30 days. Ruchoka, if you hear after 30 days, Ein Lo Shiva Shloshim, you don't have 7 days and 30 days. East Thai, those who learn Shmuel Krova to Shloshim, that new news is within 30 days. Ruchoka Achar Shloshim, and old news is after 30 days. East Thai, those who learn Shmuel Krova, that new news is B'Soch Shnemos or Chodesh, is within 12 months. Ruchoka, and old news is Lachar Shem is Chodesh after 12 months. And Rabbi Shem Rabbi Yochad said, Halach Divrei Misha Omer, it's like the Halach he who said that Shmuel Krova, the new news is B'Soch Shloshim is within 30, or Ruchoka Lachar Shloshim, and old news is after 30. Period. Now let's say you heard on Yontif that somebody died. Okay? And let's say you heard on the first day Yontif. And it was 25 days after the guy died. So you can't sit Shiv on Yontif. By the time Yontif is over, you're up to day 32, which is already more than 30 days past the death. Do you have to say Shiva or not? Good question, right? So and it should be below Ispiku Yimei Regel, it says. And the days of Yontif did not finish, did not go out, until the Shloshim is over. So the Chevra said, became a Shishama Mitoch Shloshim, should see her within 30 days. Mona Shiva Lachar Shloshim. He counts 7 days even after the 30 days over. Rav Yosef said, nope. He came on Shishama B'Shoshena Yochli Sabel, since you're at that time that he could not mourn. Therefore, it's as if he heard after 30 days. He only has to keep 1 day. For Rabbi Edi the Kusar B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan said it's a slightly different case. Baslo Shmuel Kroiva b'Shabbos. Let's say you heard new news on Shabbos, but Shabbos last day of the 30 days. By the time Shabbos over, it's going to be the 31st day. So Korea l'mocher misabel. The next day he rips kriya, he rips his clothes, and he mourns. Amar China said Eina misabel. It's after 30 days it's done navelus. Amar Ramona. Ramona said I don't understand. Sounds like you could see that there's kriya, but there's no avelus. Yesh kriya below evil. Is there kriya without avelus? Says the one, yeah, there is. Shkenel avim on a father and mother. Afilu it should be la'acha kama even after a long time. Chayv l'kro. When you hear your father and mother Rachmana litzlan die, you have to tear kriya even though it's way after the time you have to sit avelus. So yes, there is a responsibility to do kriya sometimes even there is no avelus. Rabbi Yerushalmi Moed Kattan said, a very interesting halacha. I know this brought down the Bavli. I assume it is, but I don't remember it's brought down the Bavli. It is brought down in the halacha. Maybe it's not brought down in Bavli. Let's assume it's not in Bavli. Rabbi Yerushalmi Moed Kattan, afilu tefela. Even a grandson or grandfather, tefela means second degree. Also b'tiglachas. In other words, let's say you're sitting Shiva or Rachmana litzlan on your parents, right? And then you have a child. So the child is not allowed to shave during Shiva either. The grandson. It's an interesting concept, right? Ever heard that one before? No? It's the general law of Avelus. It's his grandfather. Never heard that one? I think it's brought down by Halacha. I heard it before. So, there are limitations though. Kada, like a Kesar, Mona Hava be Kesar, Mona was a Kesarin. Shama de Damach Barbara, he heard that his grandson died. The other way around, right? Vazau Visapar. Then he went and he took a haircut. Armalay, so they said to him, Loken Alphan Rebbe, didn't you teach us? Afilu Tfeil B'Tfeil also, even the second generation of Buddha's also, that's your grandson who died. So Klaus is now to shave. Armalay, he said, Binu Dava Gabe. So if I was in the Shiva house, if I'm by the Shiva house, it's awesome. I wasn't by the Shiva house. But in fact, if the grandchild or grandfather is in the Shiva house during that time out of empathy or, solidarity, they can't shave either. Okay?
This doesn't make sense. You're going to have generally two sets of, four sets of grandparents. Hundreds of grandchildren, particularly parts of Russian Park.
They multiply like rabbits down there in Rogers Park.
They sure. Anyhow, the logic isn't that part of it, that you really just can't reverse it. Otherwise, it becomes an enormous restriction of the grandparents.
I don't get it. What are you asking? The restriction is here. The grandchildren can't shave. If the parent is sitting Shiva, the grandchildren are not supposed to.
He says it should be a one-way street.
Why should it be a one-way street?
Because it's only one set of grandparents.
You have four grandparents.
Yeah, so. They only die once.
That's right. So, but how many people? If you're a grandparent and you have incredible numbers of grandparents.
Well, the assumption is the grandchildren are not going to die.
According to who? I mean,
no, that's the assumption here.
At the time of Yerushalmi, they were probably dropping like flies.
I don't know. All right. Anyway, so what?
Mortality. What was the rate of mortality?
I have no idea. You're right. It could be that was more prevalent back then. But I don't see it's such a big chiddush. I think it's okay. Especially if it's only when you're in the house, not when you leave the house. You go to Vince the barber, so you're okay. So I don't know. It's an interesting question. If you can leave the house and go to the barber, I'm not so sure about that. Pasha says you have to be away.
I mean, there weren't barber shops, were there?
Yeah, sure.
Did the barber come to you?
No, that I don't know.
They wanted to use church centers.
Okay.
barbers became surgeons.
Says the Gemara further. Rabbi Abdumay Bar Tuve B'Sher Yavo said, "Vafilu tefei, even a grandchild, a grandfather, chayav likroa. He has to do kriya. He has to rip. I never heard that." Ravo said, "Hanegdom." Now this is a quote from Yechezkel. Yechezkel was told, even though somebody close to him was going to die, he should not engage in rituals of Avelus. And from the rituals he was told not to engage in, we learned what the rituals of Avelus are. Okay? So he was told remain silent. From here we learned that a normal Avel has got to cry or shout. Mesim Avel lo tase. The mourning on a dead you should not do. From here we learn you have to mourn. Wear your adornments. Easterboy Maimer, some say Elo Tfilin, that refers to Tfilin. Easterboy Maimer, some say Zagiyut, that refers to laundry, that he was allowed to do one of those. Man Elo Tfilin, Elo says that the story about Tfilin, Ima Tfilin Shnei Yomim. So it's a little bit difficult. If that's the case, since the linkage drawn between the Tfilin and the mourning. So just like Tfilin is only also for 2 days, maybe only Abelis for 2 days. And and he says that story about laundering, it's also a little bit difficult. If just like, let's say perhaps just like one is not allowed to launder for 30 days, so too the Abelis is 30 days. So you don't know according to this puzzle the precise difference between the 2 or the 7 and the 30. But then we continue on, it doesn't bother us so much. Put your feet, your shoes on your feet. Mikanchu, somebody else is silent for you. See, the ovals normally forbidden to put on shoes. Will tatel safam, do not cover your mustache. Mikanchu tzarchatzos people. Here we see the ovals to cover his mouth. Michasen milra, maybe he doesn't have to cover the top part of his mouth, maybe only the lower jaw. Rechis said no, that would not be sufficient. People should not say Pumi Uchoshi, she has a mouth pain in his mouth. He covers just the lower part of his mouth, so people might think it's just because he has a pain. That says to cover his mustache as well. You should not eat the bread of other people. Be confident we learn that lesser people go to greater people to console them, and Yirmiyahu was said not to accept the food of consolation. How do we know that great people go to console lesser people? Or it's said. See, it says, Hashem, this is what God said. Out to Yirmiyahu in a different case. Out to Beis Merzeach, do not go to the house of Avelus. We see normally Yirmiyahu would go, was a great man. So see, great people go to console the little people. Time we learned. These are things Nava made out to all 7 days. Birchitza, to wash. Besicha, to anoint with oils. Sandal, to put on shoes. V'tashemito, to have marital relations. Milasaper, to go get a haircut. Milchabes, to do laundry. Really close by Torah, to learn Torah. Milishnos, to learn Mishnah. Medrash, halachos, v'agados, that's agadata. Mishel Shom, from inquiring after somebody else's welfare. Milasis malachos, to do work. How we learn? Who said Avel Aser B'chitza Kol Shiva? Avel's not allowed to wash for all 7 days. Rabbi Nosson, it's Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Yama, Avel Yutar Yama. The case is not Avelus V'Shol Rabbi Chia. Yes, Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia Bar Ba. Varle Paskin for him, Kol Shiva, all 7 days is forbidden to wash. Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Yesi Avel Yutar. Yes, that case. Shach Rabbi Abba Bar Kohen. He sent Rabbi Bar Kohen. In the Gemara says in Brachos in the parallel sugya to Rabbi Acha, whose name is not mentioned here. On Malaysia, Rabbi Acha sent back a message, Loki Nachman Rabbi. Didn't our Rabbi teach us, meaning Rabbi Ami, that it's awesome? Now you skip the next line, which is redundant. Rabbi Ami, go to the line after that. Or go to this next line, actually, immediately below this. Rabbi Ami, Avli Uvdar, Rabbi Ami had a case, V'shol Shem Lokish, Yazir Shem Lokish, Vorele Paskin, Kol Shiva, all 7 days. Rabbi Nosson, like Rabbi Nosson. So I asked where before, Rabbi Ami sent the message to Rabbi Chia Baba, and here he sent the message to Rabbi Shlokish. It seems to be a contradiction. So Malaysia responded, but maybe there are 2 different cases. We say it was a case, or 2 different versions. We say he sent Rabbi Chia Baba, Ramin Lane, you say that he descend of the Rabbi Shimon Lakish B'Neiman. The result is from the same. We also learn out from here. Rabbi Chama avoid Rabbi Yoshua. Avli Uda, he had a case where he was an Avelus. Shol Rabbanim Asi asked the rabbis that they could wash and they forbade it. Rabbi Yossi boy, Rabbi Yossi asked, Hayden Rabbanim. Which rabbis he asked? Rabbanim forbid, right? Ain't they Rabban the Droma? If you're going to say it's rabbis in the south, I'm sorry, Nicha, it's good way asked because they're great rabbis. But you take Rabban the Droma, if you're going to say that's rabbis in the south, how can you ask them? Rabbi Vayakum made the greater rabbis are in the north in front of him. Bushol is Uriah is going to ask you the young rabbis in the south. How is that permissible? Who knows? Next thing they'll go build Erevin. Says more further. Ain't there Rabbanan opening? Oh, you got to accept Dr. Spindel. Alright. Says the Gemara. Ain't there Rabbanan da'achanicha? You're going to say ask rabbis in the north, that's good. It makes sense because you got a response to the Chumrah. But you take Rabbanan d'Roima, but if you're going to say ask the rabbis in the south, it should be Inun Shayon. Inun Asrin. We know from elsewhere they permit, and here they have forbade. How can this be? I know they permit the time we learn Mokum Shnogul Lirchot. Excuse me. In the place where they have a custom to wash Achramita after the coffin is disposed of, Machitz you're allowed to. Uvador Machitzin, and in the south they don't wash. What's the longest? What's the logic of the person who allows washing during Shiva? Also, so ka'achil v'shtei regards to like eating and drinking, which is a nice svara if you think about it. It's like eating and drinking are staples which are permitted during Shiva, so to he permitted washing, it's like a staple which is permitted during Shiva. That's not bad. Scale of 1 to 10, I've definitely given that at least an 8 in svara.
No, not washing the body, not washing the floor.
Yeah, it's not washing the body. Right. Okay? Says Gemara. What do people do nowadays? They wash their hands and face and that's it.
Are you sure?
What? You're sure what? Just hands and face though.
For Shabbos.
Shabbos take it. What?
Just wash your hands.
Not a shower? So the heter is like this. If a person has the following case. It's only washing for pleasure. If it's not for pleasure, mutzer, such as a person has dandruff or some psoriasis or something like that, he has some skin condition and he needs, yes, why am I telling you this? So Mar's going to tell you this in a minute. So it says, Mar Shmuel bar Abba, Olubo Chatot, and he had some sort of skin condition. Asher Shalom Rabbi Yasser, so they came after Rabbi Yasser, Mal Yasser is allowed to wash. He said, Vilo Sachi Mais, if it's a case where if he wouldn't wash, he would die, who, in Kani, if that's the case, Afiyu Tishabot, Eva Tishabot, Mimutter, in Kani, if that's the case, Afiyu Yom Kippur, Mimutter. But now, there's something missing, which is actually in the Gemara and Brachas. So it must be that it's not a danger, that otherwise you wouldn't ask a question, but nonetheless it's mutter. Okay? In other words, a person has a medical condition, or some sort of, very extreme dirt, or I guess sweat, where it's bothering him, then he's allowed to wash even during his Avelus, and that's because he has tzar from it. Okay? So we learn further. A similar idea. Rabbi Yossi Chanina, woe also toivel. They saw him dunking during his Avelus. Right? In the Kiruyo lo yodin. If it was because he had a mission, we do not know. Vilna gufo, or if it was to cool off his body because it was a hot day. And he didn't regard washing cold water as being true washing. We do not know that either. Horai Bar Kohen, Bar Kohen, the Bar Kohen Paskin, Tanya. What does Tanya mean? Oh, so Korban Change Gear, so Kehach, Hare Rabbi Ba, Kehach Tanya. Should be Kehach Tanya. For some reason when I was preparing, I skipped this line. Should be Kehach Tanya, like this brisa, that in a pinch, you're allowed to wash. Right? If you're very hot or very dirty, then it's okay. Rabbi Yaakov Paskin. Rabbi Yaakov Paskin, Bevomin somebody came from the way, but Yeragl of Chaos Olav, and his feet were literally means soft on him, and it means they were dirty or grimy. Shemuta is allowed to wash him in water. Tani, we learned Avel Umanu, that person is Avel, this person is Nechayev. Shemachim Dech, you're walking down the road, of course they're not allowed to walk with shoes. Mutar Menila says sandal, when they're outside the city, they're allowed to put on shoes. When they come to the city, you should take them off. So to a Tishbav, you have to travel on a highway by foot. Or a public path, you're allowed to put your shoes on at that point. Period. Tani, we learned Mokum Shlogu Lishol B'Shol Mavel B'Shabbos. Place of the custom is to say Good Shabbos, or to ask, to inquire as to the health of Avelim on Shabbos when their Shiva is kind of in abeyance, right? Shol, it's permissible. Uvedorim Sholim, and the south was generally permitted. Rabbi Yeshu Ravo Azel Chadasai went to a certain place. Chama Avelia B'Shub, so he saw an Avel Shabbos Shobani, he inquired after the south. And he said, Omar, I don't know the custom in your place. Elo Shalom Aleichem Kiminag Mekomein. Shalom Aleichem according to our minhag. But it's first, it's interesting. I don't even call ever Shalom Aleichem appearing in Shas before.
You mean the cows?
The phrase. The phrase. No? Going through Shas in your head?
Well, I don't recall it.
I think it's the only place. I think so. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's in the Bavli anywhere. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chalafta Mishabech B'Rei Meir. Rabbi Yossi Chalafta would praise Rei Meir, Kumit Tzipor, in front of the Tziporites. Adam Gadol is a great man, Adam Kadosh, a holy man, Tzanu, a humble man. Chazman Chavel Havel B'Shubzus, once Rei Meir saw an Avel and Shabbos in Tzipor. Rabbi Shalban inquired after himself. Amr Lei. So they came to Rabbi Yossi Chalafta, they said, Rebbe, Hanu, this is the guy that Masne Shavcha, you tell over his praise? Armalon, so Rabbi Yossi Chalafta said, Mavin, why do you do that so you're upset him? Armalon, so they said, Chamavei B'Shubzi, son, Avel on Shabbos, B'Sholban inquired after his health. Armalon, so he said to him, Boy Atun Meida, you must know, Ma'u Chele, what greatest strength is. Barlod Yedu's coming to tell us a Chiddush. Shein Avel B'Shabbos is no Avel on Shabbos. Why? The Chsiv, and again, I don't think this is in the Bavli. Birchas Hashem ita ashir. The bracha of God gives riches. The birchas Hashabbos. That's the bracha of Shabbos. V'lo Yosef etzev. They will not add this continuation of the pasuk. It will not add sadness imah with it. Zu avelus. That's avelus. In other words, when there's Shabbos, there's no avelus. How do we know that avelus? That sadness is avelus. K'mod Atomer, like it says, Netzav Amelcha B'no. The father was upset about his child. Now Shmuel says on Shabbos, Pachaz is chova. You have to refrain from Pachaz, that's mandatory. Neter, to refrain from Neter, is Shus is optional. What are these things? Priyas Rosh, to leave your head uncovered. Right? Because Avil used to wrap his head in a kafiyah. Priyas Rosh, Chaziras Kara, turning around the ripped part of your clothes so it's not noticeable. And Skipas Hamita, and lifting up your bed, in other words, sitting on a high level, that's chayva, that's mandatory on Shabbos. You're not allowed to do any of these things, the opposite of these things on Shabbos. Yasa sandal, to put on your shoes. Tashmita, to have marital relations. Rechitza, or a wash, that's a shoes that's optional. Don't take that so literally. Chad Talmud mean the Shmuel Shimish Mitaso, a certain student of Shmuel, had relations on Shabbos of Shiva. Shama Shmuel heard the speak with Allah and he got upset at him. Umis, and the guy died. Amar, so why? Amar said, La Lochis Amris. It was said as a theoretical halach, the one is allowed to have relations on the Shabbos of Shiva. Dilmo Maisa, you think it was practically meant? So that was liable to the death penalty. End of him. Rav says chaz chova. Chaz is mandatory. Pan is rishus. What are the pan is optional? What's that? Chazir is carrot to turn this to rip part around and skifas amit and sit chova is mandatory. Priyas arosh to uncover your head. There's a sandal or wear shoes is rishus is optional. Train b'noi Rebbe. Rebbe had two sons. And he died, of course, at some point. So on Shabbos, Abavelus Nafkun Chad Reish Magai, one went out with his head uncovered, V'shav Sandoy, but not wearing shoes. The Chad Reish Mechasid, the other went out with his shoe, with his head uncovered. The Lavish Sandoli, but he put on his shoes. So everybody had their different thing, what they were makpid on and what they were not makpid on in terms of Shabbos. Now, the Gemara had the classic Yerushalmi Maisa. Today's we'll conclude with this. Rabbi Yonasan said Gabi Rabbi Gurion. Rabbi Yonasan went to Rabbi Gurion. Navik Labein. Rabbi Gurion was the Shabbos of his Avelus. He went out towards him, Lavish Sandalei, wearing sandals. Amarlei. So Rabbi Yonasan said to him, Tut, Mat Sarvar, what do you think? Delfina Uvda Minach, I'm going to learn the case from you. Lo Yofin Uvda Min Bar Nazir. We do not learn what to do from young people. And therefore, he refused to learn how to conduct himself on Shabbos Avelus. Run this episode. On that high note, we will end for today.